Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This here is the video for 17.4, Chapter 17, Section 4 of Feudal Societies. In this video, we're going to be comparing the knights and the samurai. So really European feudalism and Japanese feudalism. This will not be a very long video. As you can see over here, it's only 2 slides long. And then you do have a quiz for this here that you can do while you're watching this video. All right, so here we go. As you can remember, the last section was talking about feudalism and that very confusing system that went from the kings to the lords to the knights to the peasants. And that system was really built on loyalty and serving your lord and then getting protection from your lord or from the knight. So that was feudal societies, both in Japan, which this would be an example in Japan, and down here in Europe, medieval Europe. Okay, so really the big thing with this section was just kind of comparing the knights and the samurai. Okay, so you have your knights of Europe and your samurai of Japan during the medieval times. And although the two regions, like it says up here, never really came in contact with each other, they were very similar in, kind of the basics of their system and how it ran. So, code of conduct, chivalry. Chivalry of the knights, their honor and loyalty was the same thing in Japan, but in Japan it was called Bushido. Okay, Bushido was the way of the warrior or their commitment to the military life. Honor, loyalty, the treatment of the weak was a big deal for both. Being fair to everybody, but courteous also. Chivalry is still a word we use today. When I grew up, it was used a lot. Like if a guy would open a door for a woman or would allow a woman to sit down at a restaurant, first pull her chair out for her and then push it back in, that was called chivalry. Bushido is the way of that same type of lifestyle for the code of conduct that the samurai had to live by. Battle uniform and weapons, not too much different there either. Your armor made of steel. They had armor also in Japan made of layers of leather. They both had swords, would ride on horseback. Even the samurai might be on a horseback, but most often they might be on foot. Education, as you can see here, dealing with their training and stuff like that. But really, their education was more around just how to be a good soldier. Of course, they had to learn the code of honor of chivalry, code of honor of Bushido over here. But a lot of it was physical training, fighting, military training. I try to think about like Sparta. Remember how Sparta was with their boys being trained for warfare. Probably the biggest difference then, it was a similarity also. They were both very religious. So they were religious, the knights and the samurai. The big difference, though, was the religion, the type of religion that they followed. Of course, the knights were Christian soldiers. So when it comes time for the Crusades, which we'll talk about coming up next chapter, I believe, is that the Pope is going to call out all good Christian soldiers to fight the Muslims, and that's going to be calling the knights out to fight for the Crusades. And then, of course, for the Japanese, it was Zen Buddhism and Shinto. Buddhism, a religion that started out in around India and the China area, and then will come to Japan. And then, of course, Shinto. And a lot of these have to deal with like nature. It's religions based off nature and things like that. But that's pretty much this section here, comparing and contrasting the two. Very similar, and what really gets me is that neither of these societies really ever connected with each other or crossed paths with each other during this time period, yet they built their feudalistic system kind of the same way. Both of, everybody had to swear loyalty to a lord. Really, the only thing that was maybe different, it was just what they called each other, the words that they used. That was about it. So language is different, but otherwise the system ran kind of the same way and for a very long time. Okay, that's it really for this here. It was not that big of a deal, this section here, 17.4. And with this, we're done with this chapter dealing with the early Middle Ages. We'll be going into the Crusades and Black Death and things like that coming up in the next chapter. But I did want to say, you guys, This is Thursday, April 9th. Tomorrow is April 10th. It's also known as Good Friday. We were not supposed to have school that day anyways, so we will not have any lessons tomorrow for Friday. We will also not have anything for next Monday either, because that was when we were not to have school that day either. So hopefully you guys can take these 4 days and just get away from the schoolwork, get away from Schoology, things like that, and enjoy some time with your family over this Easter holiday after you're done with this Thursday's work. Okay, if you still need anything, please email. If you need any questions, comments, things like that, let me know. Thank you.